Hey everybody, it's been a long time since I've done a video. Basically, just going through life like the rest of us and having good days, having bad days, and getting through pretty much every day is in as much acceptance as I can. So, I want to talk a little bit about acceptance because for me, um, acceptance kind of goes hand in hand with being in the moment. And it's super important to be in the moment because when you're in the moment, you are safe. There is nothing that can hurt you. There's nothing that can get to you. You don't have any fear. You don't have any even really any ambitions when you're in the moment. You are just content and you're in that space where it's almost like your own little time zone, your own little gravity pocket where everything that's going on around you, you're nothing more than an observer of it. You're not really even part of it. You're just observing what is going on, and there's nothing that can hurt you, and everything is safe. And that's when you're in the moment. And so, when before I had met my twin, I was in the moment almost all the time. Of course, I had periods of time where something would happen that would distract me and it would kind of pull me out of that moment. But it was relatively easy to get back into the moment and just sail along. And the way that I would be in the moment is just to focus on my breath and what I'm doing right here in this moment and breathing is how I would reset myself and go back into the moment. And then after I met my twin flame, there was no moment. There was just me in this other fantasy land almost. It was like a different version of reality was playing out, and she was constantly on my mind, and she was constantly there, and I was constantly feeling her feelings and wondering whether I was feeling my, my feelings or hers. That happens to us a lot where we don't even know whose feelings we're necessarily feeling. And so I noticed like shortly after I went into separation, like I haven't been in the moment for months. And so like right around December, I started really practicing going back into the moment. And what that meant for me to do is I had to accept the situation as it is. And what I had to accept is that I don't know what the situation is. I don't know where I stand with this other person. I don't know what they are doing exactly. Um, and that's okay. And to go right back into the moment and not to get her off of my mind, but to not allow her as a distraction to guide my thoughts and guide my emotions, because I would have a distraction or I'd start thinking about her, her energy would come in and I'd start thinking about her and then it would just kind of like lead me. It would lead me through this various, like down this little path of different emotions and different thoughts and what if this and what if that. And now I'm not even in the moment. And so those thoughts start to bring in a couple of different things like old past pain, which is attached to a resentment, and what could happen in the future, which is a lot of times attached to fear. And so what I have come to realize over the course of the last, you know, like couple years, but specifically this last year, I met my twin flame a year ago now. Like we're right at the anniversary of 1 year that I met her, and I haven't spoken to her in 8 months. So I've had some good quality time of separation, which I have needed, and we need the separation. We need to get and clear all kinds of insecurities and fears and start to create and manifest some positivity in our life. And the way to do that is through acceptance and going into the moment. So I just want to share a little bit about that. So if you're in the moment, you're totally safe. It's like nothing can touch you. You're shielded. You have this shield around you, and you're observing, and everything that's happening on around you is you're not attached to it. You're detached from everything, but you're there with it at the same time. And when you're in that zone, you're actually able to manifest much, much more efficiently, okay? Because you are detached and you will see that certain things that you want to occur will just kind of happen right in front of you. You'll just say, hey, this is interesting to see these people interacting. or what's going on over here, or I'm in the moment right now, and I don't really care how fast I'm going to get home. Like when I'm on the road a lot, I start to think, so I try to quiet and silence my mind. And it's interesting because I'll be on the road and I'll be like, you noticing that because I'm not attached to what time I'm going to get home and attached to how fast I'm going and what this person's over here is doing, everything flows, and I seem to not have to lift my speed but get home even faster. It's really, really interesting. And it's a magical place to be sometimes when you're in the moment. So what happens is we get distracted, and those distractions occur with different thoughts that we have. Something might come on the radio. And if you're listening to the radio, you're already asking for a distraction. You're already trying to not be present with what's going on in here, and you're trying to be present with what's going on over the radio, which is the control of whoever is controlling that channel. So your thoughts are going to be guided by what's on that station. So if you want to get centered and you want to get present, you need to turn off the radio and all these other distractions. It's okay to put music on though, especially if there's no words. That's fine. You can go with that. But there still is going to be some level of direction and being directed by the frequencies and the vibrations on that station. So the best way is to just get deeply silent within yourself and start to breathe. And I like to hold my breath for like 15 seconds in, and then I start counting on the way out, and I count to 15, and then I breathe in again and hold it for 15, and then there is this magical little like kind of a head rush, like you're slightly high feeling, and you can just unfold and decompress into that space and just breathe and get into the moment. Because when these distractions, I want to get to these distractions, when these things come in and they pull you out of the moment, they're typically in the future or in their past. Now, if they're in the past, and I'm not talking about being nostalgic and thinking about wonderful things that happened in the past. I'm talking about getting pulled into the past where you have pain and you have a resentment. You have something that you're holding on to that is providing you discomfort. And you start working on that. You start thinking about that and what this person did to you or that person did to you, or how this situation panned out and it didn't necessarily affect you in a positive way or the way that you wanted it to affect you, because we can be very controlling. And then if we get pulled into the future, it's usually about fear. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And what if this happens? And what if that happens? And this is a lot of unnecessary energy that we put into this future and past timeline, this linear duality timeline that we're in. But when we focus and bring our breath in, I've been doing a lot of light body meditations. I've been bringing my breath in as a spiral down in here. And it's really interesting. I've been reading some books about this, and I can bring in parts of my light body and activate my crown and my pituitary. And, we can do that type of stuff. And when we start to get into that zone, we are literally like the master of our own universe, the zone that we're in when that happens. So, the first thing to do when you start to get into this distraction mode is to realize, obviously, that you've been pulled out of the moment. And then after that, refocus on your breath. And sometimes you can breathe right into your higher heart chakra. You just bring your breath right here. And that will get you present. And then you can reconvene with being in the moment, which is the most powerful place to be. And you don't have to focus on what it is that you don't want to happen or what it is that you do want to happen. Because a lot of times people will focus on what they don't want. Like, I had a couple encounters with bees in the last week where I was doing work and bees showed up, and instantly my mind is like, oh no, I don't want to get stung. Instead of it pulled me out of that present moment because there's fear attached to it, because I've been stung by a bee before, and then that brings that up. So it goes into both the past and the future, where in the past I was stung and that hurt, and in the future I'm afraid that this could happen again. And I'm not talking about 2 or 3 bees. I'm talking about thousands of bees that just showed up. And what was really interesting about it was, I'll share about this real quick, because I was working on a piece of machinery, and there was a beehive over there that was pretty far away from where I was working, but it was blocking my path. And when I started this job, it was really early in the morning and very nice and cool out, so they weren't roaming around. And as I was working on this thing, it got warmer and warmer. And the next thing I look over and there's thousands of bees just shooting up and down, probably, beelining it, right? So when I was like, well, how am I going to get out of here? And I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt. I'm not wearing a hat. I have no protection on my body. And I'm looking around and I'm realizing that I'm trapped in here because there's a barbed wire fence, this circular razor wire to the right. And in front of me is this wall with these big, huge spikes in them. And I found it very, very interesting that here I am facing one of my fears and there literally is nowhere to go. But that was a total illusion because I found a way to get out of there by climbing that spiked wall and the barbed wire fence. And I was able to climb that and get out of there without even getting a scratch on me. Because whether you believe that you can do something or you believe that you cannot do something, you're correct. Your belief manifests that creation for you. If you believe you can do something and you know that there's got to be a way, you won't give up. You'll keep thinking about a way to do it. And what I had to do is go within and say, what is more important here? If I fall on that spike and stab myself or go over that barbed wire fence and get all cut up, how is that more or less dangerous than if I go through those bees and maybe get stung, maybe a couple times? Which consequence is worse? And for me, the worst consequence for me was the bees, because I didn't know if they were Africanized. I didn't know if I was going to get chased and just I'm very allergic to bees. So the possibility of getting cut was less of a consequence than the possibility of getting stung by all these bees. And because I realized that those barriers were just like my fear, and that I can get over those barriers like I got over my fear, I got very, very creative and I was able to get out of there. And the only way that could actually happen for me is to get present and go within. And, like even in the Bible, the kingdom of heaven is within. And Jesus talks about going within and finding your answers within yourself, where God is in your heart, and God takes up and source takes up a piece of everybody's heart. And we can go within. And then when we go within and go internal, an expanse occurs. And it's really exciting when that happens. And so that is how you get out of the future. And that is how you get out of the past. Sometimes you can just count your breath, So a lot of times what happens when we go into these distractions and no longer are we in the moment, we start working on a problem that we cannot control. And this is very common with the twin flames because we cannot control what they're doing, and they're going to mirror everything we need mirrored to bring up all these issues so that they can be cleared and worked on. Okay, so you're going to be treated by your twin exactly the way you don't want to be treated. And it's not like they're doing that on purpose. They're scared, they're afraid, whatever their fears are, there is controlling them. It's that when you start to go within and you start to nurture yourself, that temperance occurs with your twin, and then that resolve goes to them, and then they can start working on it. And it goes just like this infinity symbol back and forth through the masculine and feminine energy, back and forth through us and through our light body. Okay. And so the prayer that I've been using to go into acceptance, which is a brilliant prayer, and there's two versions. It's called the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it's brilliant because it gives us what we need to ask God for what it is that we need to accept, and to have the wisdom to know if we can change this or if we can't change it, right? And to me, we can change our circumstance by forcing our way into our twins' life, but that's going to create resistance, okay? When resistance forms, that is a conduit or a conductor to these distorted energies that come in. Because I guarantee you, when you go into your fear or you go into your resentment, that brings in these entities and these energies that distort us. They make us angry. And when you're angry, you are not in acceptance. You are definitely not in acceptance when you're angry. So by praying for that, we can achieve it. And it's very simple because we are not all powerful beings. We are all powerful beings, but we haven't remembered exactly who we are yet, and most people are not in 100% control, not even 90% control or 80% control of what is going on in their life. And the only thing that you're really in control of is yourself, and sometimes you're not even in control of yourself. But let me just break through the illusion. You're not in control of anybody, okay? You're not in control of any person, place, or circumstance. You are not in control. If you think that you're in control of other things that lie outside of you, you are being tricked, and you're probably tricking yourself. So it's important to understand that when you give up control and you let go of control, then things can flow in harmony. They can happen in harmony. And as you observe, you don't interject your own energy into it. And so a lot of times there's no resistance, because if your energy is in it, there's resistance there, and things flow in harmony a lot better without resistance. So if you're in a situation with your twin and it's really bothering you, and maybe you're sad or angry, you feel rejected, go into acceptance. Just accept the situation for what it is. And remember that your twin is not perfect. They're the perfect mirror of you. And so they are going to mirror you all of the distorted aspects of yourself, as well as mirror the sacred aspects of yourself when they're in that sacred space. And I feel, with my experience with my twin, whenever we were together in the same space together, we were literally forced into our sacred selves. And that is where the magic happened. That's how I recognized that person was my twin. Before I even knew what a twin was, I knew that was my person. I didn't know it intelligently, but I knew it in my heart. I knew it in my being that I am whole with this person. And so when we separate physically and the distortions start coming in, the fear, what if this happens with this person? What if this person hurts me like all the other ones did? What if I'm fooling myself? This is just a fantasy. It can't be real. All of those thoughts happen with our twin too. And that's where the distortions come in. And we start working out start working out these distortions and working through these distortions. And sometimes we start working inside the distortion. We can't really get out of it. We just get angry and we manifest this energy back and forth with them. We don't want to do that. So I hope that this has been helpful. I will tell you guys, the YouTube channel is not my mission, okay? It's helping me with my mission, which is that I'm a healer. And if anybody needs healings, my services are here for you. And you can go to my email and you can just email me, and it's soulmission1338@gmail.com. And if you feel that you have any fear blockages or there's some sort of physical ailment that you have, it's probably more than likely it's attached to some sort of energy blockage that you have. And I can help you get through that kind of stuff. I don't perform the healing. I am an instrument of Source. And what happens is that Source's energy comes right in through my crown, and then it extends and comes right out my hands. And I also use sound, because the sound actually picks up it infuses the healing energy into it, and the sound can be carried across like a Zoom or Skype. It can be carried across the phone. Another thing that I've been working on, and this is part of my mission, is actually using the sound to infuse food and things that we consume, like water, vegetables, food, soups. I've been running my singing bowl, and what happens is I can just see the energy just drop into it, and I can see it cascade out, and it goes right into the food I'm cooking. So if I'm making a soup and it starts to simmer, that energy goes into there. And I've been practicing feeding people this food without telling them that it's infused with this healing energy, and watching people go from sick or sad to healthy or happy. It's really amazing. And I'm actually going to be providing some recordings and like MP3s of the infusion of the energy through the sound. You could actually play this while you're cooking something. You can play it while you're sleeping. You can play it when you need to get out of this restless energy so that you can meditate better, because sometimes the energy is so strong that you can't even get centered and meditate. So that's my mission. And in general, the people around me that are in my personal space and my personal life as I go throughout the day, at times I do give healings without them even knowing it. But I can tell when I'm supposed to, because my crown will open up and the energy start flowing. Like someone will just walk into a room and suddenly the flow starts going, and I'll know that I'll recognize that what's going on. And I might not, I don't go up to people and say, I'm going to give you a healing. I just let God do his work. And sometimes I'll stand next to somebody, or I'll say hello and smile to somebody. And that is the conduit for that source's energy to go through and bless people. And that's because I am not here for myself anymore. And the reason I'm not here for myself is because I prayed for happiness and joy for a long, long time. And what I found is by letting go and going into acceptance and stop trying to control situations and stop having desires of material objects, I found that as I helped others and was of service to others, that was where my happiness and joy came from. And so that is my ultimate goal, to be happy and joyous and to be content. And so that doesn't happen because I want some object or situation to occur. It happens by surrendering, letting go, and accepting. And then when people come into my path that I can be of service to, I can be of service to them. And I'm not talking about being of service to people that are taking advantage and trying to steal our energy. I'm not talking about that. It's a difference between giving because people are ready for your healing, and being taken from because people want to perpetuate their own power. They don't know they're doing it, but they are. And so it's not like you can go really go into with those people that they're doing that. You just accept that they're doing it and move on. You don't have to share your energy with people that are trying to leech off of you. And I don't have a whole lot of friends anymore that, like, I used to go hang out with a lot of people and go to gatherings and stuff like that. I can't even do it anymore because I'm so sensitive that it just drains me. So anyway, I went a little bit on. I did an interview for the playground experience, and I'm going to provide a link down below. This is with Divine Unisouls. That's Bertina and April Williams and Kathy D. They have a show that they do called the Playground Experience. I think that's what it's called. And they interviewed me. It was a lot of fun, and they were gracious hosts and hostesses, I should say. And we had a good before and after discussion. I really liked their energy, and it was really an honor to be able to be on their show with them. So I'll provide a link to that. And then last but not least, I'm also going to provide a link to, I don't know if it's a divine masculine or feminine. There's a gentleman that did a video on a meditation to break through stubbornness and not deserving love from your twin. And I did this. It was amazing because I was going through it, and then boom, this video popped up. And I don't even watch a ton of videos. I don't have time for that, but it popped up right when I was going through that dynamic, and I went ahead and did it. It worked really, really good. So I'm going to provide that link below too. And I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and look forward to more in the future.